though not obligatory, to use odd numbers in all. Just the preference of the Prophet.
So he's like an OCD guy who's counting everything, like counting his steps, counting his prayers, counting his butt wipes. Like, it's interesting.
I mean, he just could have like thought that, you know, like March says, you know, potatoes, they're just neat. You know, like maybe Muhammad was like, you know, odd numbers, they're just cool.
When I was raised up as a Muslim, the odd numbers were preferred because it reminded that, you know, God is one and it's an odd number, I think.
So when I'm wiping my ass, I've done 6 wipes, and then I go, okay, I'm going to do a 7th wipe because God is one.
That's right. There's something about
three as well.
There's something about there is something about the number 7 in Christianity, or 6. Like 6 is demonic, and 7 is like 7 is like 7 heavens and stuff. Like 7 is holy and 6 is like demonic. I think the same thing happens in Islam. There's like certain numbers that considered to be good.
During like the wudu, the washing with water before praying, you can use one stove when you don't have water, or if you have water, you rinse each body part 3 times. It's very specific about the 3 times.
I mean, people in general have these kinds of preferences, like in weird places. Like if you look up any sort of workout program, like a totally random example, it's like always sets of like 5 reps, 3 reps, 8 to 12. It's like, what's wrong with 7 or 9? And it's like, you know, those numbers are just avoided by people. They like seem to have some sort of a preference, like it's not really cool to have those numbers.
Yeah, Judaism, I think the Khamsa, there is something called Khamsa or 5, the sign of people. It is good luck to have like 5 Khamsa or something. The hands of Fatima also.
I think this obsession or superstition with numbers is like a long tradition that came from Judaism, but it's less clear, just imitated in Islam. When you go into Judaism, you have this numerology thing, but it's more precise and sophisticated. You have traces of it in Islam. And the fact that they count like how many times which word is quoted in the Quran, like it's still used as an argument sometimes. So I would say just superstitious numerology, and that's all.
I have a job that is floating in my mind, but I wish that you don't consider to be disrespectful, guys.
Say that. Actually, repeat that. Please shut the fuck up.
Veritasium did research. Veritasium did a research. I think he called like 200,000 people to pick a random number from 1 to 100, and his test was to see whether 73 is the most random number, and it was one of the most prominent. Like he discounted 1 and 100 from the results. He was like, okay, we're not going to count 69 because we were doing that as a joke. And so like the most kind of quote unquote random or preferred numbers were the 10s, you know, like 50, 60, etc. But then after them, like 37 and 73 for some reason. Like it seems we just as humans have some weird subconscious preferences for some numbers.
So I have another question about, this is not about the hadith, it's about Muhammad's character. So there's a woman named Sauda, who was one of Sauda bint Zamma, and she was a wife of Muhammad, and she was a little bit fat, a little bit old, and she was kind of scared that Muhammad would divorce her. So instead of saying to her, like, what's it called? Like, she was like really insecure. She's like, hey, please don't divorce me. You can sleep with Aisha instead of me on my day that you're supposed to visit me. And Muhammad goes, oh, okay, sure. So instead of Muhammad being like, of course I'm not going to divorce you. You're my wife. I love you. I'm not gonna divorce you because you're like a little bit bigger and that you're getting older. Like that's disgusting. I love you. You're my wife. He was like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll totally, bang Aisha instead of you and stop visiting you at night because, Aisha's hotter. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like a little bit odd. A couple things about this odd. One is that Muhammad didn't comfort her in her insecurities, but rather went along with just banging Aisha instead. But also that she plausibly thought that he would do that. So he thought that Muhammad's character was such that he might just divorce her just because she's fat and ugly and older. Like, so that means Muhammad's the kind of guy that would do that.
You're projecting the same
thing to Sarah, right? Didn't Abraham, like the story tells us that he did the same thing with Sarah and he...
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, like she is old, she cannot have babies, and then he went to Hagar.
What does that have to do with anything?
But you're missing up the story. She says to him, "I'm old and I can't have any more children. Take my handmaiden." He doesn't say it to her. She says it to him.
Yeah, but it's the same. Like
Sauda, yeah, she
because she's like old and like she knew that he have the right to have like children, right?
What does that have to do with anything? I don't get it. We're talking about the character.
I speak.
For a little bit of context, you have to know that Muhammad was married to Sauda after Khadija's death, and it was told to that it was like after a very big pandemic, and he was kind of broke. And then when he married Aisha, who is like the daughter of Abu Bakr, who was rich and famous and respected, his situation improved. He had an alliance, so probably he married Aisha for that reason, for such an alliance and to be understood and respected. Because once Khadija died, she was wearing the pants. She was the older, rich woman, so she was carrying the power. And when she died, nothing was left. He was a preacher on his own. And Sauda, I think, Sam, you're projecting your idea of, marriage, romantic things, because at that time, there's no marriage in Islam. There's nikah, and nikah is a contract, basically. So the woman is completely dependent on the man, and once she's old, unable to give her, successors, babies, she is vulnerable. Like she could be thrown away, and this is like she cannot satisfy the contract. So she tried to compromise her situation by saying, I'm old, and you can have, I can keep my place as a spouse, and not be dependent on not be divorced and very vulnerable. and I gave my life to Aisha. That's all. That was a very, very, that was a negotiation, basically.
Okay, so I'm going to read some stuff about this. Ibn Kathir wrote, an example of such a piece can be found in the story of Sauda bin Sama, who when she became aged, the prophet wanted to divorce her, but she made peace with him by offering the night he used to spend with her to Aisha so that he would keep her. The prophet accepted such terms and kept her. So Ibn Kathir thinks that he was going to divorce her because she was old. What the fuck? Who divorces a girl just because she's old? You love your wife. You don't divorce them because, you're no longer a pretty young girl. I'm going to divorce you. Back in the day when you're in a very sexist society where if you're alone and unmarried, you have a lot of danger and trouble. And that instead of saying, hey, I married you, you've given me the best years of your life, I'm going to be by your side because I love you, because you're my wife. Instead of saying that, he goes, I'm going to divorce you because you're ugly, and I would rather fuck Aisha, who's much younger than you. It's a little bit it's kind of messed up that prophets like this.
The reasoning
Outside of marriage,
people wants to marry because they want to have children, right? If you have more children, you will be more powerful, and that will help you. And that kind of situation that he wanted to have a younger...
You're not sounding right.
At that time, I hear you.
Does not look like this Muhammad. Does not look like this Muhammad. So something went wrong. Look at history. Do critical historical analysis. And be bold while doing it. Knowledge is all out there. People like Sam are just necessary for this process so that you analyze, you dissect.
Yeah, because
sometimes I think that when interacting with non-Muslims, that the problem is not ignorance or they are not informed. The problem usually is arrogance. Even if you inform them, you repeat, you explain your position, no, they will have their own kind of idea that they just want to authorize.
Is this guy coping? Is this guy like actually some undercover or something? All you're doing is coping and making excuses. You're just.
Why are you interrupting that?
Because you're giving that homonym, you're coping, you're not actually making an argument. Won't you make an argument?
But yeah, you can't, even if he's doing all those things, you can't interrupt, so don't do that.
I guess I didn't interrupt, he was finished.
Okay, well, anyway. This story just paints a picture of Muhammad being not even understanding what love is. Like, fundamentally misunderstanding what the nature of love is. When you love someone, you have fun with them when they're young and energetic. As you get older, your relationship grows. You become friends. You like spending time with each other. And then, as your relationship deepens, you find activities together. You're not going to keep boning like rabbits. You still love each other. You want to spend time together. The idea, it's unbelievable. Okay, I've been polyamorous. I've had 4 girlfriends at once. The idea that I would stop wanting to hang out with my, first wife because I had another girlfriend who I'd rather bang instead is just so gross to me. The reason why I married her is because I love her and want to spend time with her. That's why I married her. And the fact that I get to bang other women, I want to spend time with the wife that I married and I love.
You're the shit.
It seems that Muhammad is just like, doesn't even know what love is. He doesn't understand the idea that you love someone. You just want to spend time with them and take care of them. You don't say, you're old and ugly, I'm going to divorce you. That's so gross.
Sam, why do you think marriage in antiquity was about love?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's supposed to be a book for all times, Caleb.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I assume there's still marriage contracts.
Yeah, but he's also called mercy on mankind. Someone merciful, someone so loving, and is known for that characteristic. In the same books, he's also expressed as the most loving. It seems absurd, right? So, Hadith is not set in stone. There are a bunch of narrators who gave narrations. This could vary based on who the ruler of the time was. They came 200 years after the life of the Prophet, this particular Hadith book. There are other books, there are other sources. If you want to do like a critical study of the personality of Muhammad, like this one, which the mainstream traditionalist Muslims say, they need to answer such questions, I think. No matter how much you cope, this doesn't reflect mercy, this doesn't reflect loving,
Sam, are you familiar with the process of critical inquiry into a text? Are you familiar with that process?
Super familiar. Super duper familiar.
Okay, well, so the basics of this sort of critical inquiry into any text is...
You say it was familiar. You don't need to go over the basics.
Okay, well then I don't understand what his statement is, like, okay, Muhammad was not a loving person, because he's comparing today's standards of love with standards of love from thousands of years ago, and then you have to take into consideration the way that you filter a text, and you have to take into consideration who it was written for, and then all of these religious texts, they all have contradictory points, or points that seem to contradict one another. It's not as easy, just by saying, okay, Muhammad didn't love anybody or something like that. It speaks more to your particular narrow point of view rather than what's actually written down, or it's a hell of a lot more complicated than what you're making out, Sam.
All right, a couple of comments. Caleb, you asked me, why do you think people got married for love in the past? I don't really think that people got married for love in the past, but I think that Muhammad is supposed to be a beacon of mankind, and although it is true that we sometimes have marriages out of convenience, that is not the ideal standard. and that you should love your wives. And even if the marriage isn't even if the marriage is like one that was arranged, or whatever, you should still try to love your partner. That is the better thing to do. So you're morally better if you love your wife. Now, when it comes to like the text and like, oh, having a critical blah blah blah, all you're saying is, can I come up with excuses for why when I read the text,
It's not
it doesn't say what
excuses.
obviously it says?
Yes. No.
Yes.
No.
He's right.
What I'm saying
It is.
You're coming up with mumbo jumbo for why when it says Muhammad is doing something horrible, that it isn't something horrible. And you go, oh, you know who the text was written for? And did you know that these texts have contradictory stuff in it? And did you know that, like, dude, the story as written and as understood by scholars paints a very damning picture of the man.
Well, which part are you talking about now?
I'm talking about Sauda was scared that Muhammad would marry her. She was getting old. It was his second wife. And she was like, oh, you're getting old. And she was scared that he was going to divorce her. And then Muhammad, she's like, you can spend your night that you usually spend with me with Aisha instead. If you please don't divorce me. And
Sam versus the Muslims, part 3 of the
I
movie.
love you. Of course I'm going to spend time with you. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. I'll spend your night with Aisha instead. Because she's hotter.
Why wasn't that like a good thing though?
Yeah, it was good. One very
The point that I'm making, what?
It's a very different thing. You can't take today's values and place it. It's so. No, well, you can't. You can't. Right.
Love, I'm a moral realist, so
Okay.
yes, you can.
So no, there's nothing realist about what you're doing.
Oh, I think that we should have the same standard. I think you should be moral in general, and the same standard applied to everyone at all
Look,
times.
Sam, here's the thing though, Sam, right? Look. Just fast forward 100 years from now. People are going to look back at the shit that we're doing now, and they're going to think that we're barbaric.
And they're right to be fucking nuts, of course. Like, what?
That's a bunch of
Hold on.
It's not nonsense, it's fact.
Sorry, one moment. Do you not notice that one moment, they do this with actually Western. Okay, let's leave the East for a second, right? Like with Western, right now they're trying to rename certain streets because this person was a slaver,
Exactly.
this person was an abolitionist. They're doing this right now. They're starting to tarnish Churchill, who is considered a hero, a war hero in World War II. They're starting to say he's racist.
Yeah, exactly.
Churchill's an
So- No, hold on. They're doing this to people who are alive. Like, there's people who, like right now, Donald Trump is seen as evil right now while he's alive.
right?
Churchill was a genocidal racist, by the way.
Yeah.
No, okay, hold on. What about Gandhi? What about Gandhi?
Historically important figures.
Gandhi was a
Gandhi was like a pedophile predator.
Oh my goodness.
Was like a Indian
Just
race.
because you don't
What
know
about
these
Nelson
facts
Mandela?
doesn't mean there are not facts about these people. It's
Nelson
just
Mandela was a fucking terrorist. That's
So that's the thing. You can villainize people so easily within like 50 years.
Yeah, you just brought up the worst people.
What about Hitler? Come on, what about Hitler?
Andre, you wanna get this? Andre, I made the point like you're objective and you're seeing it from the outside,
I
right?
think Netanyahu is a
Tell
very
them
good
that
example.
hold on. Tell them the
Netanyahu thinks he's a good criminal, exactly, and to some people he's a hero. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you guys not notice that Nargis was in the middle of talking? Do you guys not
I
notice
was
that
just
fact?
talking. Like,
Sam, don't you
so
see
fucking
Let Nagish finish. Come on, guys. Let Nagish
I was just gonna tell Andre to
Sorry.
I'm not
There's too many people in this room. If you interrupt, I will move you down. Just like
yeah, it's not a fish market, you freaking uncouth villager.
I'm allowed to interrupt this,
Andre.
right?
Go ahead. Andre, go.
Yes. Plus, you see, if you talk to Shias and their version of Muhammad, it's going to be a completely different person. And none of this shit, none of these embarrassing hadith, and it's a completely different kettle of fish. But if you take the so-called Sahih hadith of the Sunnis at face value, it's going to be, you can read the Sharah, but it's still going to be really, really difficult. And I see a lot of Sunnis.
So is there a historical figure that said love everybody no matter what, even if you disagree with them? Right? These look. My point is, Sam. There's so many rooms in Clubhouse where it's like let's demonize these people room, and then you go to the next one. Let's demonize this other people room, and there's rooms. Let's demonize the Jews room, and then there's another one. Let's demonize the Muslims room, and it's just so lowbrow. I was hoping, Sam, that you're more intelligent than that.
Sam.
Are you trying to say it's immoral to do?
Hold on, Sam. Muhammad is as equally bad in the Shia.
I'm saying at the end of the conversation, nothing is resolved.
You're drunk. You're drunk all the time. You do not speak facts. Some of us have done studies, and listen, Venus, this needs to stop. Okay, don't give me that shit. Please do some academic study. You're an atheist. Why does it matter to you?
Sam, can you give me 1 second, Sam? Can I quote Kafi and you give me like pre-reading to prove like what Andrew just said is like absolutely bullshit?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So to begin with, which hadith do you think is in the Sunni corpus that's not in the Shia corpus that makes Muhammad look bad, Andrew?
No dialect. No dialect.
Anyone?
Just read the thing that you think is bad from the Shia hadith.
Oh, in the Shia hadith, Muhammad was married Aisha when she was 9. That's in like Kitab al-Kafi. Muhammad beat Aisha. That's in Kitab al-Kafi. What else? It's even worse because in the Shia hadith, Muhammad is like an even bigger criminal than in the Sunni corpus because in the Shia literature, Muhammad married Aisha, when she was 9, but he married her own daughter, Fatima, when she was 9 to Ali, who was like 20. At least in the Sunni literature, she was like 18. In the Shia corpus, if you read like Kitab al-Kafi, Madnaya Dawr al-Faqih, Al-Istibsar, Al-Ahkam, and obviously Bihar al-Anwar was like all the resume of all the scandals. Fatima was 9 when Muhammad married her away to Ali.
I was 6 when the Prophet was 55. Shame on you.
Here's the thing. In Shia hadith, not only was Muhammad 54 when he married a 9-year-old, because the hadith of Aisha being 9 is in Kitab al-Kafi, but Muhammad married his own daughter when she was 9 to a 20-year-old in the Shia corpus. So the Shia hadith,
55 and 6-year-old. A prophet is 55 and
that hadith is in Kitab al-Kafi. You understand that, right?
bring it.
You don't understand is that the Shia Hadith are not classified the way that the Sunnis are. There is no Sahih.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. You think I'm so ignorant that I don't know about Ilm al-Rijal and how in the Shia literature how they do gradings of a hadith is completely different from the Sunni. The problem is, my good sir, is that like al-Majlisi, who was a muhaqqiq of al-hadith, authenticated both the hadith that Aisha was 9, and he also authenticated the hadith that like Fatima was 9 and Muhammad married her away. So it's not the case that like I'm completely ignorant. These are hadiths are sahih by like the Shia standards, so like Ilm al-Rijal, my good sir.
There is no Ilm al-Rijal in Shia. That's where you freaking get jacked.
And I'm gonna get more beautiful, Andrew. Did you know that like in the Shia
Ilm
hadith?
al-Rijal. That's not the system used. It's the Usuli method.
In the Usuli methodology of Ilm al-Rijal, my good sir, the only difference between the Sunni method and the Shia method is that like in the Shia method, in the Shia 12 method, the Imam has to have approved of the narrator. But the thing is like, there's like a million hadiths where Jafar al-Sadiq, Muhammad al-Baqir, al-Qadim and so on approves of like a bunch of like narrators. So we don't have that problem. That's like a distinction without the difference because we have all the hadiths where he approves of all narrators. Now going back to the problem, not only do we have the big scandal, my good sir, in the Shia hadiths that are sahih, that Muhammad marries a 9-year-old, he marries his daughter when she's 9, but in the Shia corpus as well, which al-Majlisi authenticated by the way, and al-Khoui as well, we have a hadith that says something like the following: the Kurds are all jinns, do not marry or touch anybody from the Kurds, do not speak to the Kurds. So in the Shia literature, we don't only have pedophilia, we have racism as well, my good sir. And they are sahih by the most succinct and detailed standards of Ilm al-Rijal and Tahqiq al-Hadith, which was applied by al-Khoui. Now I'm done, my good sir. How do you reply to that, my good sir?
You run brought forth any hadith. Even as an atheist, a Nasibi will always be.
Just to be clear, I love Imam Ali and I hate Muawiyah. So I don't know how much I can Nasibi. Najis, you want to apologize?
As Imam Ali once pointedly said, if you cannot say something good about somebody, say nothing.
Where did Imam Ali say this, by the way? Can you give me the citation?
I think that's a Western way of thinking.
One second. Andre just said...
I have ijtihad. I don't need to give you any sources, good sir.
1 second. You were just complaining like 10 minutes ago the hadith of Bukhari are supposedly not authentic and the Shia is like a different method. And you just made up like a quote about Ali. And I said, where does this come from? And she said, oh, I have my like own way of authenticating this. I don't take give you. Who are you? Who are you, Andrew? Who are you? What should we take from me? Who's Andrew?
You don't have to take from me.
Then shut the fuck up. Why are you even talking about the topic?
Well, why should we listen to you? I don't get it.
I just want to calm you down a little bit.
At no point did I say...
I'm very good at calming down drunk people.
Just to be clear...
I will listen to you. You sound smart, you know?
Just to be clear, the biggest narrators of Shia hadiths were like drunkards in the Tolva tradition.
Are you serious?
The second thing is, I never said accept this ruling because I came. What I'm telling you is like what Al-Khoui said, what Majlisi said.
Wait, what evidence do you have that they were drunk? You said.
Not only were evidence that they were drunk.
You know,
Let me give you an example. Who is, for example,
I would listen to Venus on these subjects. Venus is Euphorus. I can't read your name, sorry, Venus. The drunk person, I would listen to the drunk person on these topics. Andre. Venus, you said that, what's her name? Sauda was like 70-year-old. So she was in her probably mid-50s.
Not 70, no.
She was probably in her mid-50s when she offered.
52.
Yeah, so she's probably around 55 or 60 when she offered it, which is not a young girl, but also not like a fucking 90-year-old grandma or whatever. She was a 55-year-old woman. No, well, Muhammad was like in his 50s too. They were the same age. Okay? And then...
No. He was 48 at the time.
Okay, so she's a little bit older than her. It's still a little bit ridiculous that you go, oh, you're a little bit older than me, so I'm gonna, I'd rather have sex with my young wife instead of you, so I'm gonna divorce you. I'm gonna divorce you and let me marry Aisha. Like, that's so gross.
Look, Sam, how's it? Sam, look, me and you, Sam, I'm like 32, you're like 40. Sam, who would you rather have sex with? Like an 18-year-old or like a 40-year-old woman your own age?
That depends on your preferences.
First of all, if you haven't seen any hot 40-year-olds, you just haven't been in like upper class spaces and that's where they're stay in shape. Like you're literally like
exactly, Sam.
A hot 40-year-old, what a plebe.
That you learn riding in old saddles.
Like there are 40-years that are genuinely much hotter than 18-year-olds.
One second, Sam, you're missing my point, Sam. I'll be finished my point. By the way, Sam, here's the thing. You know this, and I know this, because you pay for prostitutes, I should just get laid naturally. But here's the thing. There's like, just like body-wise, I agree with you. There's like fat 18-year-olds. There's like beautiful 40-year-olds taking shape. But here's the thing. Have you had sex with like an 18-year-old who's like a gym nerd and a 40-year-old who's like a gym nerd? Just like the tightness of their pussy is like completely different. It's like day and night. It's like day and night. So I just think back then, when there's like no McDonald's, Burger King, everybody's actually like somewhat fit, right? Aisha, 14-year-old, and Sauda, 70-year-old. And Sauda was black. I don't mean to be racist, but back in the Arab mind,
what about Fatima? Hold on. What about Fatima? You guys never talk about her.
She was an abused by athletes, and then she was killed by Omar. But here's the thing. Sam,
oh my God.
Sam, use the logic, use the operating system of the Arabs back then. Don't use this like Enlightenment Jew logic. Back then, Sam, you yourself, if I gave you like a black 70-year-old wife and a hot 16-year-old Arab girl, you yourself would have like double the night for it. Don't bullshit. You have done the same thing.
I literally have been polyamorous, and at one point I had a wife who was like mostly asexual who didn't fuck me, and then I had other girlfriends. And guess what? I like to spend time with my wife. Why? Because I loved her. Because I loved her, wanted to spend time with her. I don't need to get my dick sucked every single night. Okay? So if you love your wife, hey, I'm going to give up having sex with a younger woman to spend time with my wife because I love you and I want to spend time with you.
That's so sweet.
You fucking maniac.
It's adorable.
I need to come every night. What do you want Muhammad to do? He needs to have... He's like orgasm daily.
You can use your hand, right? You can use your hand.
Off, dude.
It's off.
Wait, you can't even jerk off like in front of your wife or something. You can't like.
Yes, haram. Yes, haram. God's got something in hell.
That's not haram. Bring your proof.
Where do you have evidence to show that that's haram?
Yeah, it's not haram.
In Sunan Abi Dawud, it says whoever jerked off is going to be reincarnated in the day of judgment.
This is some caveman way of thinking.
Abi Dawud, but by my source.
There is something missing. Like when Muhammad used to have many wives, he would spend each night in a different house. Remember, each Arab spouse had a house. And so people, if they saw Muhammad skipping Sauda's house, at least she made it public that she had an arrangement with him and that she wouldn't go to her house because he accepted a request to keep her as a wife, but not on a sexual level. That's all.
Oh my God, Aya, there's a whole amazing film I want everyone to watch. It's called Raise the Red Lantern. And it's a Chinese movie about polygamy. And you see the same thing. You have the older woman raise the red lantern, okay? And so here's the thing. It's like older woman. When it comes to like someone like Elon Musk, right? How do we know who he favors? Elon Musk, no, seriously. When it comes to Elon Musk, how do we know who he favors?
I think like a 20-year-old.
He's a polygamist. Yeah.
So
Also, like,
when I was polyamorous, I had multiple girlfriends. I remember one of my girlfriends got really jealous that I literally started dating a younger woman that was prettier than one of my girlfriends. And it would have been fine. I would have been happily visiting both of them. But she started freaking out and causing drama and causing like shitstorms. She like psychologically couldn't handle that I was dating someone younger and prettier. But if she had just said, hey, like the idea that I would go up to her and be like, hey, I'm not gonna visit you once per week because this girl's younger and hotter than you, is like psycho behavior. Now, it's one thing.
It's just such a stupid thing to talk about. Like we can talk about any other thing.
Sam is the fucking man, okay?
There are there's three problems. One, the first problem is like Millet, you have dyslexia, okay?
That is true.
The second problem, Sam, you're missing the point. Like back then, people, it wasn't allowed to jerk off. That was like bad. So like, imagine you had to play the rules where you couldn't even jerk off. What would you do?
And there was no
would you like Sam, would you visit the black 17-year-old on the day?
Proof they weren't allowed to jerk
Or Sam, would you want to play with hash every night? I'm not saying Sam, you would. Let's just transfer me back then. What would you do, Sam? Like honestly, no bullshit.
No bullshit. I would spend time with all my wives. Are you fucking retarded, dude? I don't need to fuck. I don't need to fuck the hottest one every night. Okay, when I was polyamorous, I didn't just only fuck the hottest girlfriend I had. I would fuck all my girlfriends and I would spend time with them on different nights. And it was fun. Now, the only problem is when they would get really jealous and freak out about the other ones. But if they didn't freak out, then I would just visit all of them and it was just fine. Like, the idea that you would just not visit your girlfriend because she's slightly less hot, or you're just uglier than another girlfriend, you're a shithead, you're a bad partner.
The masculinity.
Hold on. Hey, no. There's like two problems. There's two problems there. The first problem I had, Sam, I just don't think you're the testosterone that Arabs have. Because as an Arab, we need to fuck every night, like unironically. That's the first thing. What you're saying is like, oh, me as like a ginger Jew, I can just hang out with like a black woman without having like The second part is, back then, what do you think hang out was? In like a fucking tent that smells like camel piss and camel shit. What kind of like hangout do you think you're gonna do, Sam? It's gonna be interesting. With like a 70-year-old black woman. You give me the story. Go ahead, Sam.
First of all, you can talk to them, you can read books, you can play chess. Oh, the only things you can do with another human being is
How is he gonna read a book? He couldn't read a book. How is he gonna read? He was illiterate.
The real problem is treatment.
People are just bad at having fun. If I was just alone with a girl who I loved, we would be like, oh, let's play a game, let's play pretend, let's go for a walk, let's make art, let's fucking make music, let's like...
Let's play pretend.
One second, just to be clear, Sam.
That's gonna take me time. He's like, oh my god, these people doing theater, oh, they're just playing pretend. Oh my god.
Why do you keep bringing up black women?
Hold on, Sam. You're telling me with a straight face, like no joking, you would enjoy playing pretend with a 17-year-old black woman whose vagina is like so wide open that like you might like slip and fall into the vagina. You would rather than having sex with
like, I don't think you would fuck any of the women back then, no matter how hot.
No.
They would be just hygienically disgusting. It would be revolting.
Let me land the plane. So you're telling me, like, you have like a hot 16-year-old girlfriend, and you have this like 17-year-old used black woman, and you're telling me that you would like perfectly balance, like, going on a picnic with the used black woman when having sex with a 16-year-old.
About underage girls, bro.
Oh, he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile.
Yo, what kind of pedo shit are you on?
No. Sam.
Yo,
Sam, I want you to.
Bro, you're on some cool shit. You're on some racist shit right now.
Not only that,
Hold on, guys. This is important. I want you guys to have a little vote. Is it more offensive? Thumbs up. Okay, thumbs up if it's more offensive that he's talking about his pedophile stuff, or thumbs down if it's more offensive that he's talking about how black women are ugly. So let's have a quick vote.
No. Our Jewish rats should be deported to Israel and serve in the IDF, I think. Because God promised them the land 1,000 years ago.
well, Peter was worse. Yeah, that's so
Kitover.
No, that's absolutely right. That's
First, we should
Look, it looks like people are more offended by the black women being ugly thing than by that 16-year-olds are hotter than 7-year-olds.
underage kids. Like, this is the worst thing you could do.
He's a coon.
By the way,
He's an Arab coon.
Sam, I don't appreciate, by the way. One second, Sam, you know, I'm talking about Muhammad. I don't appreciate you doing the joke of calling me like a pedophile. Why would you do that?
Whoever just said he's an Arab C word, like,
one second.
is bad, right?
One second. Given the complaints that you make about me, why would you do that, Sam? I was respectful. I'm very on topic. Why would you do that?
Wait, you literally are saying that I would rather fuck a fucking 15, 14-year-old Aisha than fuck the 70, 60-year-old.
I said if you were in Muhammad's shoes. I never said you would personally prefer that. Why would you just like throw that thing that was like a pedophile? That wasn't cool. I wasn't disrespectful to you. I made something new.
Okay, it's getting
We're talking about Muhammad who married Aisha at 9.
Change the subject, please.
No, but Sam, why would you like throw the shade at me there? I was not. Did I disrespect you in this conversation?
No. You've been respectful. I agree. You've been respectful. You just haven't been respectful to black women because whenever a discussion of black women comes up and they're like how attractive they are, she's black.
Bro, you're racist, bro. Most Muslims are not even Arab. Bro, you're racist, bro.
Sam, let me ask you something, Sam. In the Bukhari as well, there's a hadith that says Muhammad traded like 3 black slaves for like 1 white slave. You understand that within the logic we're talking about, like the paler you are, the hotter you are. That was like the logic. I understand like right now, I actually think black women are hot because like Megan, T Stallion, and so on. I'm just saying like back then, using the system back then, supposedly like you have like the least hot ethnicity, 17-year-old, and then you have like a hot Arab 14-year-old. If you were back then with the ethics of back then, you yourself would probably have like done the same thing as Muhammad did.
Alright, PTR. Look at this picture. PTR. This is one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen ever. This is a black woman. The idea that you're like, oh, she's black, she's disgusting, like black women are fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, he's racist.
By the way,
I'm pretty sure his point was that they had like a prejudice back then, which they thought white was more attractive.
Exactly.
That's pretty obvious.
Where are you from, as far as?
He's Iranian. He's from Iran.
I'm an Arab. I'm not Iranian. If I was Iranian, I would have killed myself. I fucking hate Persians. If I was from Palestine, I would like kill myself. If people like Sam can oppress my people and take my land, I wouldn't even want to live.
Bro, he's Egyptian.
That's not true either. Sam, my point was like, just think of yourself as like an Arab in the 7th century. Forget this like 21st century Bennett, John Stuart Mill, phenomenal conservatism. Just think the way, the ethics you would have had back then if you were just like randomly thrown in Arabia. You don't think you would have done the same thing as Muhammad said? Like, no shade, no trolling, no nothing. You had this 17-year-old. And by the way, Sam, another thing. I know you gave me like a beautiful picture, like, and there's like a lot of beautiful black women. Rihanna's like the most gorgeous woman. What's more beautiful than Rihanna? And we can name them. Megan Thee Stallion, Rihanna, Hailey Bay.
Rihanna's Arab name. You know that, right?
That's not her name. That's like her rap name.
So
the point that I'm saying is like,
no, it's not. Rihanna is an Arab name. What are you talking about? Rihanna.
If I was Muhammad, here's what I would do. I would say to my second wife, the first woman I married after Khadija, I would say, "Hey, why are you being so scared that I'm going to divorce you? I literally love you. I'm going to spend time with you because I love you." And
No, but this is the part you're missing. No, but this is the part you're missing up. You understand? Like when he was married to Khadija, he never married anybody else, right?
Exactly. And then as soon as she died, he married Sauda, his second fucking wife.
And that's the thing. You can't. Yeah, but that's.
And then he's scared. Sauda was scared that Muhammad would divorce her just because she's older and uglier, which is so gross. Why would she be afraid of that?
No. This is where you're gonna lose the discussion, Sam. If I'm this like Chad, 50-year-old Arab who controls in society, and I just want like fuck, would I marry a widow 70-year-old black woman? Or does that show that like at least Muhammad cared for like the widows and actually wanted to help out some? Which do you think is like more problem? Like why would this Chad, 50-year-old, his wife just died, he inherited all her wealth, right? Why would he marry this like 50-year-old, not 50, 60 or 70-year-old used black woman?
Why are Arabs so obsessed with fucking? Like everything they talk about is fucking and sex. What's going on, man?
Yeah. Because God gave him more testosterone than he gave black people. Now, Sam, answer my question. Why would, if he was like this, like sex addict or something, why would he have married Sauda to begin with? If he wasn't just doing like goodwill to begin with.
I mean, maybe he just loved her, or maybe they had a good connection, or maybe she was hotter when she was younger, or like there's a lot of different reasons why
he married her when she was 17.
No, he did. He married her when she was like 40.
Yeah, perhaps she was an excellent cook. Perhaps she was an excellent.
Oh my God! No, Sam, you got the story wrong. He married Sauda when she was already 70. No, he married her after.
You want to put money on it? You want to put $30 in this money?
Okay, I don't have a problem. He married Sauda after Khadija died, right?
Correct.
When did Khadija die?
I don't know the exact year.
She died like 10.
I literally just texted this like 2 minutes ago. She was in her fucking. They married when she was like in her 50s or 40s.
50s, not 40s. No. Just to be clear, 50s. 50. All I need is the 50s to make my argument, Sam. You understand that, right?
Yeah, but the Benz house. You say she's 70. She's not 70. She was not 70.
Wrong. She was 6 and then married when she was 9.
Hold on. I'm obviously exaggerating. She was in her 50s. Sam, when Khadija died, Muhammad was in his 50s. Sauda was in her 50s.
Kitty, you should have a conversation with
She was a widow. Hold on. She was a widow that Muhammad had like no let me just ask the question. It's not like he knew her or they grew up together or something. He had like no pre-knowledge of her. She was like a widow, and somebody said, "Hey, you should marry her because she doesn't have anybody." And Muhammad says, "Okay." What other explanation do you have there other than like goodwill? You just want to like give her like some kind of a companionship so she wouldn't like die like alone and miserable. You really want the Islamic story.
That is terribly
So
sad.
she had to remain a widow after Muhammad died.
Like, when you're not bound by monogamy, you don't have to have a partner that has every trait that you like. So if you're polyamorous, if you're polygamous, you can have one wife is really good at cooking, one wife is really pretty, one wife is really funny. You don't need to have all of them be everything. So he could have just liked a lot of things about her.
Tell me, you see my point. He didn't know her. It's not like she was like funny or had like some kind of like a quirk maybe in her personality. She was poor, she was black, and she was like 50. Like what's this like that Muhammad have gained by marrying her?
First off, there's lots of reasons to marry. Again, as I said, when you are polygamous, you do not have to optimize every quality in a person if you're polygamous. If you're polygamous, you can say, I really like that you're a good cook. I really like that you're funny. I like your face. All this stuff. You don't need to literally marry them for. Okay, when you're monogamous, you can be very selective. When you're polygamous, you don't.
No one knows, Sully. No one knows.
Sam, hold on. No, one second, Sam, why big thick head? He obviously married Sauda, so like when he married all these young women after her, he could always say, oh, by the way, I married like the ugly black woman as well. So you guys can't say like I only married like the hot chicks. Because after Sauda, what happened? Aisha, Hafsa, Safia, these beautiful teens.
Wait, how do you know that the black woman was ugly? Like, is there a photo of her?
She's a 50-year-old fat black woman. You think that can ever be hot?
What's her name, sir?
Wait, my name is.
What's the black woman's name? Oh, what's her name?
Sauda. You know what's beautiful? Do you know the meaning of her name, by the way, Sam?
It's black, so it's black.
What?
Sam, do you know what Sauda means in Arabic?
I don't know. What's it mean?
Samia, you're hot like me. This guy's white. Just like this conversation, I don't see him pulling anything beautiful or substance.
Alright, you gotta step back. We kind of dominated the conversation for a while. The first one is to get their voice heard.
Samia, you're hot like the first date with you.
Can you mute Samia?
Samia, you're hot like me.
Wait, hold up. We might get to the porn part. It might get hot.
That noise was annoying.
Even look, as soon as that said that, we got muted up. You're welcome.
Anyway, does anyone else have any sort of feedback on this thing where Muhammad, like, you know, either he's worried that he's going to divorce her, or he threatens to divorce her, and she's like, oh, you can fuck the young wife instead, and they do that. Is there anyone that has commentary on that behavior?
Yeah, you think that's wrong and disgusting, but you shouldn't have multiple wives. But, like, not everybody can be Daniel. You know what I mean?
Even you consider the social context of the Arab society of that time, and you realize that the behavior of Muhammad was quite.
He's off the market. He just got married 10 days ago-ish.
To a white woman.
He was off and on to the one he was off and on with.
And he ain't got the peers white women.
Yeah, they just got married 10 days ago.
Has used words in conversations and then redacted those words when people call out what those definitions are and ask him to fall inside those definitions.
Paradox. I even, my lot in life, I raised a son who's in that genius category, like in mathematics. So it's just a strange thing because Yuval Harari, I'm sure you've heard of him, and people in the room will have, wonderful framer of history. And he says basically a country, a nation is a fiction, which he's right? A border there doesn't exist in nature. It's a fiction. To which I would add, it is a fiction, yes, but that kind of sounds like it's not real. Because what makes it realized is the agreement. That's the missing link. If people understand that
It's interesting that I would ask you to be a reference for me, but it has to be somebody who I've known for.
Cool.
But look at Nancy Willis as well.
to people who are around the same age as them. Hold on. I'm asking. Hold on. So Forrest, I'm asking you a question, right? As a person gets older, right? Would they relate to people who are the same age as them, or would they relate to someone who listens to completely different music, completely different life, completely different experiences?
I don't know how when you get to be about 40, a lot of shit's gonna change.
Right.
This dude does
Okay. I was just asking him. It's a question. Othello, it's just a question. It was a question.
Understand who you're talking to.
And I was talking to him.
He's Arab. He's not there to relate to his wife.
Not true.
He's not going to relate to his. He's not here to relate to his wife. He's just here to fuck. They don't even respect their wives.
Sam, can you just small, please, Sam?
Listen, they beat their wives, and they don't even respect their wives.
Yeah.
They cares about
Okay, just let him answer though. So Forrest, you could go. You could answer.
What, Sam, are you AFK or are you like trolling?
What's up?
Can you like mod the room?
She's asking you a legitimate question.
I asked him a question and he doesn't want to answer.
Alright, what's the question?
All action I get.
She's asking me like, why would Muhammad like listen to Spotify with Sauda back then? And the always answer is like, there was no such thing as like Spotify back then. There's like no music, no nothing. Back then in the 70s, what would you do like that? 70s.
Little
weasel. So what was her question?
You are a slippery little weasel, aren't you?
Romero, I was waiting for you to beat the shit out of the guy.
Are you trying to justify bad behaviors with women by using like?
Phoenix, I'm defending Muhammad. Phoenix, I'm defending Muhammad. I'm the only one defending the Prophet.
I'm Muslim too. I'm protected.
Yeah, this guy's a real bum.
And the Prophet did marry an older woman. He did. It was Fatima.
Fatima was his daughter, dumbass. What do you mean he married an older woman? He never married an older woman.
You're not older than him. He married a woman who was older. What do you mean that was his daughter? What do you mean? Never married Muhammad. Okay.
Marrying his daughter?
Who was his wives? Okay, hold on. Who was his wives?
Please, Sam, please, can you mod?
Sam, please, Sam.
There was a big weakness.
Sorry.
Let's be able to be a mod because I'm right now out of town. I can't like watch the screen as much. So, Andre, I'm making you a mod. If people are interrupting, you feel free to move it down.
That is like a weird episode of Supernatural. He's all like,
Okay, he doesn't want to talk to anyone else that's not Sam, so that's the problem.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's probably the best. A lot of us on stage want to get shit out of him.
Right. Kitty, so we can talk Kitty then, because he doesn't want to talk to anyone. Oh, God.
Sam, why would you mod this guy over Millet? At least give Millet mod. What's wrong with you?
Millet's a good mod.
What's wrong with you?
Andre never gets the mod.
Anyway.
What's wrong with you? You're like,
why would you
Why do you keep complaining and disgruntled? Why can't we just talk about the topic? Is Islam respectful? Let's talk about the topic.
It's not.
It's just
I think it's
about Islam.
Let's hear from Kitty. Oh, sorry, Andre.
Doesn't say it's not a
honestly,
question.
respectfully, I don't know if you and I can have the same comparison.
I'm mod right now, and when I talk silent, yeah? All right, that it's not a question. It says Islam respectful debate. It doesn't say there's no question. Is Islam respectful? Yeah, but if then the question should be: are Muslims respectful? Not is Islam. Islam is a concept. Yeah?
True.
Okay. Right, a respectful debate about Islam. Narges, why don't you set us off? How does a respectful discussion or debate about Islam come about, and how does it not come about?
Thank you, shukran, Andre.
Thank you, Andre. Just see it. Shut the fuck up, Venus.
No, because you're just going to keep talking to Sam. For God's sakes. Narges, what were you saying?
You know what? Fuck you guys. I'm done.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later, man. I'm sorry.
Hit the road, Muhammad.
And don't you come back. Oh, shit.
Oh, he really did leave.
Okay.
He'll be alright.
I have to work right now. I'm just saying, thank you, Andre. Just look at it. Look at all of everything from it. Try to be as unbiased as possible. Like if truth is what you're seeking.
If truth is what you're seeking, you shouldn't have kicked Venus. Venus knows more about these subjects than everyone in these rooms combined.
Also Venus kind of
Huge dick, drunk, but if you want to get to the truth, he's not the guy to kick.
Can you please say huge dick and drunk in the same sentence one more time?
Well, huge dick and then drunk.
We have a few new people that just joined. Kitty, Ramiro, Nuha, Elliot, Cora.
Yeah, you have.
Hi, I'm new to Clubhouse.
Another person who likes to have respectful debates. Yeah, and she defends her religion even when it seems impossible, because she wants to see the good in it. For example, that's how to.
What is this fetishization of respect? No, I want people who are smart and are going to say interesting things. Respect is secondary in these rooms.
Thanks, Melis.
No problem.
Instructions first, actually.
Hi, Nuha. Kitty.
Hey, what's
Elliot.
I think respect is always the foundation.
So what's the debate? What's the debate topic?
I don't think there has to be respect. There just has to be a willingness to listen. I don't care if you respect me.
I got Ramiro, honey.
Respect you or not, just be willing to listen.
Can I ask a question, right?
You come to Clubhouse and you think the majority of people are willing to listen?
No, this isn't what? Huh?
No, that I would rather have a room where people are willing to listen than respectful. That's what I'm saying.
True. Do you guys think Islam might be one of the most disrespected or hated religion?
Yeah. I think it's a toss-up. I think all the Abrahamic religions kind of encourage a certain level of hatred.
Islam has it coming.
I love that. Right. The Semitic religions are so divisive, and some people think they're violent. That's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I'm glad that you said that all three. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but
empirically, Islam's just more violent, right?
It's the least reformed, right? I think. Yeah.
There might be explanations for why it's more violent, but it's empirically much more violent.
Is it if we
hold on, because Ayan Hirsi argues that the reason why, Ayan Hirsi Ali argues that it's because it's the least reformed. What do you guys think?
It's also the youngest, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think it says a lot when it's written into their text about killing the environment.
I think it's the fact that within the jurisprudence, we have certain assumptions, when a consensus by scholars is established, it can't be overridden by a new consensus, right? So it's binding across history. So these kinds of assumptions make Islam very hard to reform from a legal perspective. It means anything that is newly ruled on is kind of like an innovation.
Right, exactly, because
it gets rejected.
Exactly, Nuha, because it's considered bid'ah. I think that's the term.
Samia, you're unmiked and it's really loud.
I'm sorry. I'll try to mute it out. But what I wanted to say is it's considered. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Othello, you haven't muted yourself. Thank you.
I don't think Islam is more violent. I don't think Islam is more violent. It just happens to be being violent in a time of mass media, right? If TikTok had existed during the Crusades, we'd have a much different opinion of Christianity. Right, but Christianity had the benefit of no newspapers, no television, no nothing during the height of its cruelty.
I love this, by the way, what you just said. Totally, yeah. You know, because some people think the internet is what's reforming Islam, and so Christianity went through its reformation during the age of the printing press, right? But Islam is going through its reformation during the age of internet, social media, and so on. So it's taking on a different form. So I appreciate what he said.
Okay, Sammy, a quick question. What makes you think that Islam, or you have to specify which branch of Islam, is undergoing a reform right now?
Andre, to answer your question, I would argue that it's the static form of Islam, which is Salafi. Anyone who believes any form of reformation is like bid'ah, right? Anyone who rejects any form of reformation is the form of Islam that's under attack. So that would be Salafi and Wahhabi. That's what I believe.
I gotta look these words up, man.
Interesting take.
I'll put it in the chat, Kitty, but thank you for your appreciation. Thank you. No, because I do think Christianity plays a role. Like, I think if we could combine the Semitic religions, Islam would skip the whole function of having to reform, right? Because we could just latch onto what the others did. Because I think Jesus, alayhi salam, was a reformer. I don't think his intention was to create a new religion. Because when he died, did he know he would create a new religion? No. I think he was trying to reform, right?
Actually, in Matthew 5:17, it says, I didn't come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill it. So, I mean, when you first said that made perfect sense. That makes sense. He wasn't there to make a new religion. He attested to the entire Old Testament. And in fact, Christians today still read we call it the Old Testament.
Right. Exactly.
Wasn't he more of a
Jewish rabbi.
Revolutionary?
He was a Jewish rabbi.
Yeah, people want to say like he was like some kind of like political rebel rouser or like just
Well, he was.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, but when people when they say that, they're looking at Jesus as like that was his whole MO, like his whole.
No, it wasn't his whole MO, but it was.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
He was God.
Caesars, he didn't really give a crap so much about the politics behind it. Now when it came to like heresies,
of course it was politics, right? Like he's literally living under a Roman occupation. Right, anything he does is political under Roman occupation.
So, who were the ones that wanted to crucify him? Who were the ones that were Romans? What? It was all the Jews.
No, the Pharisees and the
No, that's blood libel.
It says in the book of Luke, I think, right, that it says like his blood be on our hands, and the Jews are saying that. But that's because like generations after the actual events, people started to like view the Jewish sects of Israel that rejected Christ as the Lord or Christ as like the Messiah. They started to look down on those sects or whatever, right? So it's probably like a later fabrication that the Jews actually said like let his blood be on our hands and our children, right? Okay. And it's like the Jews didn't punish people. The Jews didn't punish people by way of crucifixion, right? That's like not a Jewish punishment; it's a Roman punishment.
Who wrote that? Let's not go down the rabbit holes, please. Let's not go down the rabbit holes.
No, let's go down the rabbit holes.
That is what Nelson does. It's what he does, and it runs still better.
Going down the rabbit holes like massacring Islam. I mean, if you're going so far, massacring Islamics.
Who wrote the New Testament? Who wrote the New Testament? The Gospels are anonymous. Like they're not anonymous. They're anonymous. They're not pseudepigraphal. The Gospels are anonymous.
Who popularized it? Was it the Romans?
Yes, because they had the Council of Nicaea, right? And they popularized Christianity.
So the Romans wrote.
One would think that sorry, I could be wrong. That's what I think. Hold on, one at a time, please.
About like.
Yeah, but what Melissa is saying is ridiculous.
Okay.
Obviously, the Jews wouldn't. I mean, they wanted him dead, so they're not going to sit here and be like, let's talk about this one
You're falling for propaganda, Kitty. What I'm
no,
saying.
I'm saying logically, look at it. Like, you wouldn't sit there and be like, I want this guy dead. He's a rebel rouser, and then sit there and talk about it.
What benefit would the Romans have by pointing the finger at Jews? Just answer me that.
The Romans, what the fuck? We're all so confused.
You're all like so confused.
We're not interested in the blood libel.
Oh, thank God, now I
Yeah.
can finally have some knowledge.
Yeah, you can.
Now, I was saying that sarcastically,
I
but
know.
Militant, I could be the
Thank you,
Of course,
baby.
it benefits the Romans to point to the Jews
The
as
Romans
the villains of
didn't
the New
write
Testament,
the
right?
Gospels.
Right. Look, hold on. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
What are you talking about, Romano? Like, it would benefit the Romans to scapegoat the Jews? No, the Romans didn't write the Gospel.
They controlled it, didn't they?
Oh my God.
Did they not?
We appreciate you.
What do you mean they
Mark.
controlled it? What does that mean?
I
They
get that.
controlled
The Roman was the Roman Catholic Church the center of the
around? No, they didn't do that. They actually did not.
Andre, please don't boom the room. I love everyone, but please listen to the mod, please.
So mute your mic, that please.
No, but Andre's trying to make a point. He's not trying to make a moderation point. He has the same rights as everyone else when it comes to talking.
True.
Yes, let's stay on topic, please.
Okay.
What's the topic, Andre?
Thank you.
The title's like literally
It's
above your head.
respectful to say.
Sorry, Otho.
And Andres, just so you know, and me included, but instead of like moving people down or like ending a room, if you want the three dots on the right, you can mute everybody except for yourself all at one time. It'll say mute all. Just, and yeah.
I love the mods.
Yes, thanks for the reminder, Kitty.
So we can only talk about Islam and only respectfully?
No, Lilith, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Andre doesn't want to hear it around.
No, I think go all out. I really enjoyed this conversation. Go ahead.
Well, I don't remember what we were even talking about at this point.
Okay.
Too much happening.
Okay, so hold on. Let me ask a question. Hold on. Because I want to ask a question because my favorite people are in this room. My thing was Jesus alayhi salam, because we say alayhi salam, right? He was a prophet in my religion. I'm a Muslim, right? Was he a reformer? Or was this a creation of a new religion?
Prophet. First of all,
with all due respect, kid,
yeah.
I understand. Respect my religion. I respect yours. With all due respect, I don't mean to insult you. But what I want to know is please let's remove the titles. I love him as well. But my thing is that was he creating a new religion or was he a reformer? What do you think, Kitty?
I don't want to fight with you, lady, but like with all due respect,
I'm not trying to fight with you.
Yeah, then I think that we've already started off on a real sour foot when you're going to call.
I don't mean to.
Prophet. Yeah,
Okay.
well, I can't think of anybody that's going to be a defender of Jesus Christ that's going to sit there and be allowed.
I respect him being your leader and your God.
That you have been taught. It's wrong. No, wait. I'm being respectful. Now, stay on mute. Whoever is it, that's you, dude, that comes up on mute. Everybody. No, whoever's got the background sound of like somebody sawing like metal. That's bad. Like it's painful. Okay, I'm sorry, but like it's bad. It's painful.
Kitty,
But I'm
in
saying,
Islam, Jesus is
Can you
considered
please not interrupt? Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Fuck one 4 years.
Just let her speak.
So all I'm going to say about this, without your question even getting close to your question, because it is obviously a religion that didn't exist since he was a Jewish man. If you want to say a Jewish man that reformed his own Judaism, I don't see how you can see. I mean, him being the son of God. I mean, I think that's just a pointless question, but regardless, I think before you can have this honest question with any Christian, and I'm sure that maybe some might not be quite on the offensive as I am, maybe look at it as though never pose it like that. It would be like missionaries that are Christians in the United States send money to China. You know what they do? They like rape the American Bible or what we would conceive as being like the NIV, and then they teach it about politics and Jesus in China. Now, I would, if I was talking to a China person and like they sat there and said, well, this is what you, Chinaman, a Chinese guy, and then the Chinese guy is like, hey, Kitty, so with Jesus, you know, he's a part of the CPP, right? I'd be like, what? I mean, so part of that would be offensive, but I'm trying to look over the fact that you keep calling him a prophet, but there's a lot of Christians that would take a very high offense to that because he's a Messiah. And I know that, I know you don't
I don't want to do endless convos qualifying myself.
Oh, go ahead, Cora.
Usher is
Kitty,
really
here.
on Clubhouse. Prove me wrong.
Kitty, your objection to him being considered a political figure, a political reformer, it doesn't help that you call him Messiah, because that's exactly what that means. It means a priest or a king that's been anointed to politically reform and usher in an era of peace. And usher in an era of peace. That's what Mashiach means.
Okay, it means savior in any sense. If you want to look at it,
Cyrus of Persia was considered a Mashiach.
It means anointed
Right.
one, nothing
But
else.
did they consider? Was Cyrus considered the son of God?
Cyrus the Great, you mean? The Iranian?
Yes, Cyrus the Great.
Mashiach
Was he
never
considered the son of God?
The purpose of the Mashiach, the origin of the Mashiach, never included divinity or being a son of God. It only meant someone.
Right, that's
anointed
right,
one,
and
a
that
political
was my
figure.
entire point. Right, you're right, which is
Now, just
Everyone now.
this is why the council of Nicaea should have never happened.
Hold on, let me ask
No, I never even got to finish with Cora, and then I promise you, I'll come right back. Hey, Cora, so, like, that's the whole point. Wait, Romero, stop it. So, like, that's the whole thing of why it would be so offensive, right? It's not just like the fact that, like, if that's like the understood etymology of the word. That's wonderful. That's all great and well, but it wouldn't have pissed the Jews off as bad as it did if that were the case.
This
Like,
is what I
if
see
it stopped
it.
there.
I've heard all about thanks to me
Never
anymore.
the Jews off like it did because we were saying, because Christians were saying, hey, who is this speaking?
It's Romero.
Shut up, because you know that he was a Jew.
Hold on, Kitty. I can answer this for you.
Forget it, man. No, if I'm gonna get overtalked by everyone on the stage, Daniel, this is what I'm talking about. This is why
You never answered her question directly. You're running around in circles.
Shut up.
Okay.
So Kitty was 100%.
Before we continue, just one clarification.
I'm not asking any more questions.
This is not my opinion. Kitty, you should know and should be aware that Muslims actually also accept Jesus not just as a Rasul, as and a prophet. Rasul means like somebody's being a messenger. Yeah, so there are only 12.
Information is great. Stupid people who just waste their time here talking over one another, wasting their time, are the ones who suck at life.
It's just the Jews who do not acknowledge him as
I'm not gonna block you.
Use the same pushback.
Absolutely. Why would Christians think that? Are you about to ask me if Christians think that Jews will go to heaven when they die? And go for the hard hitting questions. That's where the line of questioning ends. That's where I wanted to
respond to your thoughts about why the Jews were.
No, every time you ask me a question, Romero has to chime in and on mic. So when
why am I being ignored because of Romero's behavior?
Because it's not fair that I even get to speak every time I try to.
Stop trying to ask you questions, Kitty. I will stop trying to ask you questions from here on out. I will never talk to you again.
Oh my God. See, look, we just recently became besties again. Can you just wave at me at one point? We could have a room together. It doesn't have to be every time Cora wants to speak to me.
Too
That's not
You're too sensitive. Exactly.
So the Jews, right, particularly the Pharisees, right, had a good reason to be angry with Jesus and not like Jesus' presence as a reformer, simply because of what you mentioned. When he said he came to fulfill the law, he wasn't talking about the contemporary laws at the time that had been negotiated and litigated by the priestly class of the Second Temple. He was talking about any law that was considered directly handed down by God. So what they did is that they had extreme political influence by setting laws of behavior and social mobility and social interactions and all of that. Like this is all very well exemplified, like by getting angry with the money changers at the temple, talking about people washing their hands and how it's kind of pointless, like that's exactly why they were pissed off.
I completely agree.
To
as soon as he said he was king of the Jews, or or implied it by saying he was Messiah, they saw their opportunity to leverage the Romans and point him out as a political insurgent, and that's what they started.
Yeah, because they were cowards. But so now everybody else on stage was not, they were agreeing with, like, I think it was Romero saying that it was all of the Romans. And I was like, no, it was really the Jews that were pissed. They were literally screaming, I'm with you, Cora. I completely agree. That's what I was trying to say. That was the point. Like, that's when it became political. That's when it became.
Yeah, what Cora said is completely wrong. So, like, what happened, right, is that.
Man, they tried to slap it off the Romans.
Jesus called himself a king, right? And the Romans took that as a claim to, a claim against Caesar's throne. And they crucified him for that, right? The later, story about the Jews is embellishment. Yes, the Jews were pissed at him, right? But if the Jews, had the ability to, to some extent, punish people within their, cities and stuff, right? At that time, the Romans weren't every rabble rouser wasn't a huge Roman priority, right? But the Romans were the ones who decided the fate of Jesus, right? And the Romans were the ones who took Jesus' claim to kingship to be a claim against Caesar, right? That's the history of it, right? The later embellishments by the Jews just not factual at all.
And Jews have suffered with this blood libel, this image that they've rejected. Jesus, this is something that, Christian events
are going out for it.
right.
This is not an offense.
But it's not their fault.
They would probably say
he was a rabbi and he was Jew. He himself was a Jew.
Yeah,
so it doesn't make sense.
I'm an American.
Say, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. So Jesus forgave them. I don't know where the fuck this blood libel came from. Of course it came because people
exactly, Andre.
Others. Yeah.
This cruelty that has followed. No, hold on. This cruelty that has followed Jews for this is just completely absurd.
Samia, if you have turn your microphone in a little down, it would be.
Was it me? I don't even be here.
No. Samia has.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Samia several times. Oh, wait, is it Samia? Are you the girl talking? No.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's her microphone.
I apologize. Is it okay right now?
It's not you. Yeah.
No, it is her.
Is it okay now?
When she stops talking, the noise suppression kicks off and all her
okay,
noise.
Hold on. Is it okay now? I'm asking. I apologize. Is it okay now?
You can come down a bit more.
Okay.
Maybe you can allow other people to speak more to me.
I haven't spoken that much.
You're going to try to ask me a question. I got to go here. As far as being able to speak, for sure.
Shut up.
I didn't want to be rude.
I forgot my question. Honestly,
I'm sorry.
Shut up in 30 minutes.
Question. I think you already did that though.
Okay.
So,
why are people so rude in this room? Why are people so rude?
Sam has a different take on things. As long as you don't overtalk people, you can pretty much be dicks, and I like it. Okay, I think it's character building. I can call Romero.
No, I like you kidding.
Yeah, Romero. What?
No, but other people are being pansies and weirdos. You're cool, but some other people are complaining and being weirdos. It's weird.
Well, this is
one thing I forgot to mention is that the Romans were the only people who had authority to kill political prisoners in Judea at the time, right?
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody made that claim, Milith, that Jews had the authority to kill.
I'm sorry, Samia.
TA Doctor wanted to say something. TA Doctor, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I want to ask Samia something. So basically, Jesus forgave the Jews for killing him, and they till now they say he's boiling in shit in hell. So is he forgiving them now?
Islamically, we don't think he ever killed them. You have no respect for our religion. This is what Nargis is trying to say. I'm answering you that Jews did not kill him in Islam. Are you listening?
Yeah, but they say they did, right? If you read it.
Oh, for God's
Read the
sake.
Quran.
No, it's like according to the Quran. Hold on, can I answer? According to the Quran, okay, he was not killed. Okay, do you understand that? Whoever asked me the question, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, honestly,
I answered the question according to my religion. Respectfully.
Yeah,
back
according
off.
to religion, but you said to them that the Jews were forgiven by Jesus.
I never said that.
Okay, so someone else. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, because you can't read, you're illiterate. You're fucking illiterate.
Yeah, no, literally, all anyone has to do is accept it. That's it.
Oh my God, shut up, weirdo. Where is this Othello person? Shut up.
So respectful.
Yeah, I'll be rude to you. Okay, you want to be rude? I'll be rude right back to you.
Down till she turns her
Okay, I'll keep my okay.
The only disrespectful.
What are you gonna do about it?
White people.
What are you gonna do about it?
Can you move her down till she turns her mic down and stuff?
What are you gonna do about it?
I'm asking the boss.
Okay, what are you gonna do about it? Pussy. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Pussy.
It's just because you're new.
Fucking weirdos.
Yeah, that's not how you do it.
Shut up, you fucking shit writer, non-digger.
If you talk over me or anyone else, you're getting moved down immediately by me. I'm back in Bodega. Law is now in effect. The law and order is in effect. Don't try me. There's no warnings, no nothing. You just immediate move down if you interrupt. Anyway, I think that we were talking about earlier. It's just Islam just disrespected as a religion, and yeah, I think it is disrespected. I think that it has a fake sense of respect that it gets because if you criticize it, Muslims try to kill you. But if we're all being honest with each other, it's one of the least shallow spiritual traditions. It's morally one of the most fucked up religions. Like, a lot of people will literally kill you if you leave it, which is like just the definition of a cult. And, it's not worthy of respect, and they demand to be respected even though their prophet was not a good man. They have many evil practices. They are not spiritually rich. They deserve to be disrespected more than they are. And the only reason why they're not disrespected more is because they're bullies.
Yeah, can we disrespect Judaism without being called anti-Semitic?
Are you kidding me? Someone starts dissecting Judaism.
Yeah, can we disrespect Judaism without being called anti-Semitic and be censored everything everywhere we go?
Okay, all right. So when your faith actually talks about killing someone just because it's not like I would think that would be pretty anti-Semitic.
Genocide in the Malachites, killing your own child, stoning him to death if he disobeys. Like, I don't think people from glass houses should
sending.
There's actually a government thing that is called ADL, and that actually they record your name if you said something that is anti-Jewish or anti-Jewish culture or whatever.
Afraid of this shit.
A lot of Christians, when they say that they express their criticism to Judaism, they deem to be like anti-Semitic sometimes.
Mazda, the ADL is a nonprofit organization.
I think we're gonna get canceled.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization, first of all, and I think that, like, honestly, in here in Clubhouse, most all Christians,
There are people are because disrespecting Islam are not like governments of Islam or whatever, like officials of Islam. They are just doing that by their own.
Okay.
Do Muslims not have freedom of speech?
Yeah, if you're talking about in reference to what Sam just said, I mean, yeah, he has his freedom of speech and everything at one, and two, he's not a Christian. So please don't convolute the two. I will say probably echo, if not champion, a lot of the things though that Sam said. However, what we're talking about is just the fact that, like, or at least for me, it contorts and completely like f's up like what's said in the Bible, and then they practice it, they study it, and they teach it, and they tell people this way. Like, I just heard Samia say, well, he was never really killed. That's huge. I mean, like, to Christians, that's huge. To call him a prophet, that's like completely contorting and like messing up our faith.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't say that I'm being Islamophobic, But I would say, no, I firmly disagree. I think it's very disrespectful to Christians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I respect that.
Okay. Do rabbinic Jews also, like, do you respect them also when they say your God's holy Egypt?
I've never heard Jewish people say that respectfully, sir. I'm not.
You never heard it, so it's true then.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that, like, I don't feel that kind of pushback. Like they want to kill me. Like I would say, extremist Muslims. Well, you know, they've taken out a couple buildings.
Yes,
well, it's the truth.
So you guys
The thing is that anyone who like
evil, the Jews have a lot of practices. Like Abraham was evil. He made his son carry up his own wood to his own death sentence. That's evil. Moses killed someone for collecting wood on the Sabbath. That's evil. There's lots of evil stuff in the Old Testament because the book is very old. In fact, it's probably worse than the Quran because it's so much older and has like less moral progress since then. That being said, the Jews wrote the Talmud, and the Talmud is all about coming up with a more reformist, reasonable, sensible way of thinking about things and interpreting things. Similarly with Christianity,
Wait a
he's a very nice guy. He's a kind man. The problem with Islam is that Muhammad was not a kind man, and you don't have a really strong tradition of the liberalizers just winning and dominating. With Jews, the rabbis are more liberal than the Old Testament. With Christians, Christianity is more liberal than the Old Testament. These are liberalizing movements that are winning. In Islam, there isn't the same liberalizing movement that's winning. You have some liberal movements. You have Ismailis. You have some Shia mystics. You have some Sufis. But they are the minority.
When you believe that liberal.
Yeah. Remember the thing I said about interruption?
No, wait a minute.
You remember
You said
I agree with Sam.
Yeah, you remember something about that? Yeah, don't interrupt me. Yeah, don't. So the people like the Ismailis and the Shias and the mystics and stuff, they are minorities. The Mutazilites don't even exist anymore. So I would love it if Islam became reformed and modern and chill, but unfortunately, the majority aren't, which is why they deserve disrespect.
Yeah, right. Actually, you know, Sam, in Sweden they tried to burn the Quran and they burned it, and then a Muslim man came and said, okay, now I want to burn the Torah. However, now when he said that he wanted to burn the Torah, the government and the people and the world started taking it more seriously until he was stopped in some way, right? So what I'm seeing is that there is this criticism of Islam and like saying that it is okay to criticize Islam and it is not okay if someone is trying to shut that down and silence people. But at the same time, the same thing happens in the Jewish context. Whenever a Christian is trying to criticize Judaism, they will be silenced or cancelled, or maybe they will say, like they will be killed and said that they committed suicide, for example.
Here's the difference. So if I kill you because you don't believe, if I kill myself and you in the process because you are not, because you're a Gentile, that would be, I'd say, pretty extreme and written into a faith of something. Now, if I get canceled and silenced because I believe my faith, you know, that's far, that's different. You don't see it. I'm sorry, Romero's going to keep talking, but like, isn't that a part of it? Like,
I've been trying to ask you a question for a few minutes now, and I keep getting interrupted. And it's the fucking show, right? So I'm going to ask you a question.
I'll mute up. Stop being a bitch.
Sam, do you think that all those Muslims in the United States that have somewhat secularized, that are considered peaceful by all standards, don't you see that as progress?
Yeah, of course. You'll notice that I've noticed a lot of Muslims that are liberal who still think that in a caliphate the apostate should be killed, who still think that gays should be illegal, think that it should be illegal and punishable with violence to draw the profit. So they're not actually that fucking liberal.
No. Especially when it comes to LGBTQ, we have a different framework. No, we just don't consider identity, but you can go ahead and sleep with whoever you want to sleep with, but they never listen to that.
No, don't lie.
Excuse me. The Ottoman Empire was very freeing to LGBTQ. You can do whatever. Excuse me. Hold on. Excuse me, can you not interrupt me for a second? Okay, a sexuality is not an identity, okay, sir? When it comes to the listen, people respect the Eastern way of thinking. Why? Because they have money behind it. When it comes to the Muslim perspective, they won't respect it until there's money behind it. Now, we don't consider a sexual identity a fucking identity. We don't. We consider it.
Hyper excited, and I can't wait.
If you want to sleep with whoever the hell you want to sleep with, marry whoever you want to marry, go fucking ahead. But that's not an identity.
I agree.
We don't consider. Yeah, we don't consider identity. Listen, there's gay and queer people in every society. Stop it. They're in every society, and you're making their lives more dangerous by acting this way, okay? By making it their sole identity, okay? The Muslim community used to be more accepting of LGBTQ before you turn it into their sole identity. This is an Americanized way of thinking. You want to make an identity that's rainbow based off of America, right? Based on the Stonewall riots, is that what it is? Right? Same with the BLM.
You're so confused. Stop talking.
Oh no, thank you, Kitty, but I'm crazy, right? I'm crazy, right? Because our sexuality is our identity. Thank you, Kitty. Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry. If you're a lesbian, that's your identity. Sorry, I apologize.
My question is still not answered.
No, what would make the gays
Don't address
world? It would make gays a lot safer in the Muslim world if Muslims stopped thinking that it would be okay to kill them. The idea that, we make gayness an identity and that makes them more safe. No,
The same could be said about
people
Christians.
killing them. People hurting them. I hate your lack of self-control. I love that I can just put you down. You all fucking suck at your ability to not have self-control. Okay, but the problem is when it comes to killing people for being gay, that's what makes gays' life dangerous. Not having an identity, not promoting LGBT, none of that makes their life dangerous. What makes their life dangerous is people hurting them. Muslims thinking that you should hurt them. That's what makes their life dangerous. Obviously.
And actually, a lot of homosexuals in the West nowadays are committing suicide because of there is a propaganda against them that even telling them to stay away from children. But actually, my question is still not answered. Why, when a Muslim, when a person who is not a Muslim tried to burn the Quran, a lot of people said it's his freedom, but the same people, when another Muslim said, I want to burn the Torah, they criticized him and they tried to stop him. Why is there a double standard?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer your question because people are hypocrites and don't have lots of reasonable standards on things. That being said, most of the free speech organizations like FIRE, like Freedom from Religion Foundation, etc., would support you having the freedom of speech to burn the Torah. And so, yeah, you're right that some right-wing people don't have fucking principles, and they'll just say, yeah, burn the Quran, but don't burn other stuff. And they're stupid. They should have a principled idea that you can burn stuff. But you're right. You're fighting hypocrisy. Now, there is a reason why people would be a little bit more careful about sort of really public anti-Semitism, given that the Holocaust happened recently. But it's still, I think it should be okay to burn the fucking Torah if you want to. That being said, yeah, the fucking Quran is more worthy of criticism right now. Islam is a worse set of ideas than Judaism right now. It's more dangerous. Jews die of it.
And you gotta look at the fact that these people have allyship, you know.
That's true.
Can I speak some like you're speaking, you know what's funny? You're speaking, but the Christians
can I speak
more
now
people
for
than us. You kill
so
many people. You're the terrorist.
You're asking, listen, you're asking.
Can I speak for a second or so?
Hold on. You're asking why European nations who generally have a war against Islam and are generally filled with European people who are either Christian or Jewish, why that they would have a problem with you burning their book, their Bible. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand, these people have an alliance and they are at war with Islam, so of course they're going to do all the backhanded stuff.
No, brother, you see, you're missing the point. The problem is there is so much of illegal immigration in Europe right now of Muslims.
Yes.
Illegal immigration, and they want to destroy Europe.
Yeah, but they don't run
and
anything.
They want to put Sharia in Europe, man. Damn it.
They don't
I mean, if you're a Muslim, I respect you, right? I mean, don't be an idiot. That's all.
Are you in Europe, Thomas?
Are you
Sorry?
Are you?
No, I live in Singapore.
You're from Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you care about Europe then?
Why do I care about Europe? Because half my family is in Europe.
Half of you, because you're European?
My maternals all my maternals are in Europe. Okay? In London, Belgium.
Okay, dude.
So I care about Europe because these Muslims, bastards, are trying to just destroy Europe.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you imagine in Vatican they are bloody fucking doing prayers in public spaces? I mean, what the fuck they want to do? They want to show they want to show what? Dominance? Look at what the fuck is happening in UK. What the fuck is happening in France?
Gaza.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
I mean, just look, man.
You're
Norway. What the fuck is happening right now of illegal immigrants?
What are you? Are you Muslim? What
Los
are you?
Angeles?
Yeah. What are you?
I'm against the terrorists. I'm jihad against terrorists, and I support him because he knows exactly what they're doing to Hindu women. Fuck you, terrorists.
Fuck terrorists. Listen, I like Nargis is my friend, and I respect her.
Actually, I live in the Gulf country, right? And there are a lot of immigrants here, right? There are a lot of immigrants from India, for example, in the Gulf countries. People are not complaining about that. The locals are 10% in Gulf countries. You know that?
I support
Indians.
I support Indians.
Why can't we?
The locals in Gulf countries are only 10%. People are not complaining about it that much.
Listen, I support Jai Hind all the way every day. I support India over Pakistan. Sorry, these countries have a gender apartheid. Let's call it what it is. So I will support anyone against the terrorists. Jihad on the terrorists. That's what I believe. Jihad on the terrorists. Yes, kill every terrorist. They're the murtads. Because you know what? Hold on. Do you want to know something? Terrorist Islamic extremism kills 82% of the Middle East. How does that make sense? You guys don't even know how to kill the infidels. You're killing other Muslims. 82% are killed by fellow Muslims. So go fuck yourself. You guys are the murtads. You guys are the evil people.
Listen to yourself.
Is this girl drunk or something? Like, can you drink some coffee?
Shut up, bro.
Drink some coffee.
Oh, get out. Bro, you guys time are done. You're trying to do some Arab colonization? It's not going to happen. Bro, Arab colonization is not going to happen.
It is. This room is annoying me. I'm just going to move like a lot of you down because fuck you. So, to Doctor, you there?
Thank you, Sam. I'm here.
I have a question for Hadith. I want to know what you think about it.
Yeah, sure. Give me your leave.
Yeah. When it says in Sahih al-Bukhari 608, that Satan farts when the call to prayer happens because he's running away so quickly. Do you think that is a literal statement?
Wait a minute. Did they say what?
That Satan, devil, farts really loudly when the call to prayer happens because he's running so quickly. So because he runs so fast, the fart comes out of him, and it's a loud fart. And it's
okay. What number is? I want to read it.
Sahih al-Bukhari 608.
Okay.
Is that Bukhari 608? That's hilarious.
608.
He's running to the toilet because he has Taco Bell.
That is a fact. Wait till he gets to like the nose cleaning.
Okay, this is not Sahih. Let's go next one.
Literally, it's Sahih al-Bukhari.
Yeah, Sahih al-Bukhari does not contain all Sahih. You know, like it has grading systems.
Yes, they do. The Sahihain are Sahih Muslim and Bukhari, and all of them are Sahih.
And they have grading in them, my friend.
You're a liar. Show us.
I'm not a liar. I don't lie.
Okay, bring your proof. I'm gonna delay.
Bring yours. Bring yours.
So you made a claim that
you made the claim.
for
I
a reason.
answered. You made the claim that I was a liar. So show me that I'm not.
Okay, did you notice that? Google says it's not. Yeah. Did you notice there's nothing called Sahih Sunan Abi Dawud or Sahih Ibn Majah or Sahih Tirmidhi?
I know.
That's because those have gradings. Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari are all authentic.
Sahih Bukhari 100% has grading. I have it next to me.
And they are all authentic.
It has grading.
Yeah, this one is Sahih. Google says it's Sahih. It's called Sahih al-Bukhari.
It does not say to me in the Sunnah.com, right? You use Sunnah.com.
I'm on Sunnah.com.
Sunnah.com, yeah, it does not say, normally it says down, grading Sahih. This is normally what
because they're all Sahih. That's why you're a liar.
No.
TA Doctor.
I'm not a liar, I never lie.
Interject. I was in a room recently of Salafi people, and they said very clearly, if you reject only one hadith from Muslim or Bukhari, you're a kafir.
I agree. But the Sahih ones...
I asked ChatGPT and it says it's graded as
Sahih. That's the
it's graded Sahih, so
it's a story
it's missing.
of
It is
Bukhari, how he went through hundreds of thousands of hadith and then made a book with the ones that are Sahih. Yeah? That's why it's called Sahih Bukhari. For goodness sake.
Yeah,
I agree. Listen. I agree. Maybe it's Sahih. If it is Sahih, it's okay. We have like some nice things like Jesus cussing at the fig tree.
Yeah,
right?
you guys can hurt
This
and
is
totally
funnier, right? It is. It is not deflecting.
You got Satan farting.
It's not deflecting, even if it's correct. Even if it's correct.
No.
What does that?
It minimizes your fake faith. I'm sorry.
Fake? You don't know what Jesus is. Fake.
When you literally twist and convert someone to religion and lies.
He neglected to say who he is. Just neglected to
Let's see. Muhammad
it says
and Jesus.
Allah's messenger said, when the call to prayer is pronounced, Satan takes to the heels and passes farts with noise during his flight in order to not hear the call to prayer. When the call to prayer is completed, he comes back and takes to his hand. So it's just literally a Sahih fucking hadith that says.
Okay, if it's Sahih, I accept it, and I don't find it problematic.
Sounds like when he goes to pray. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Go figure out who Jesus is. Let's continue. Who gave you commentary? Kitty, are you the commentary for this group? You keep jumping out
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome.
You're a copper because
it's okay.
You reject Sahih hadith because you're a copper.
I never rejected.
It's a Sahih hadith. That's fine.
It's a Sahih. I did not know it was authentic. Now I know it's authentic. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, and I don't find it problematic.
Oh, you don't find it problematic that Satan farts when he runs away?
No. Why farting is made like, I don't know, newly, like as a funny thing. I don't think it was funny before.
So, the call to prayer happens. You're like, Allahu Akbar, and then Satan hears that and he's like, and runs away. And then if you think that it actually happened, it's literally what's happening.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Actually,
you're affected by movies a lot, dude. Just it's okay.
No, but look, Sam thinks it's funny, but what he doesn't realize is that it actually is like an example of the science miracles of the Quran, because it's clearly an example of how like they knew about Newton's third law.